Hey guys, Chris from Drift Outfitters here, and today we're going to be tying a little variation on the classic woolly bugger. This is a dubbed version of the famous fly. And I really like this option. It just offers a little bit more bugginess to the fly, and a little more body to it, a little more structure. It seems to fish quite nicely. I think the dubbing even might add a little extra motion, a little extra kick to this fly. So without any further ado, we're going to pop a streamer hook in here. This is a size 6 Dohiku streamer hook. You can use your favorite streamer hook, mix up the sizes as you like. This is a lead-free wire. You can use a lead wire as well. This is a 30 thou size. And I'm going to go ahead and start taking wraps, covering up the majority of the body here. I'm just going to stop a little shy of the eye, leaving myself what would be a couple turns of space there and a little bit of space toward the back end here. I'm just going to wind my wire to break it off, like so on one side and the same on the other. That'll just save your scissors. I'm going to start my thread, and this is just a 10-aught Veevus. Start it ahead of my wire, and I'm just going to make some open spiral wraps down the wire to keep it in place, and again back up just to really lock it in, make sure it's not moving anywhere. I'll take my thread back to the bend of this hook, snip off the excess, and we're ready to tie in the tail. The tail on this fly is Marabou, just like the standard woolly bugger would be. And this is a select Marabou plume. This is a very large Marabou plume. Most times guys will draw the fibers up in a bundle like so and just tie them off the back here. I find this doesn't really offer you the most motion that you could get because it does incorporate the stem of the feather too, which of course is quite stiff. And it also uses just the thinnest fibers on the entire feather, and so you don't really get much body off of it. So what I prefer to do is actually come down toward the base of the feather here and grab a little bundle of fibers off the side and just rip them off the stalk. These are typically very fluffy, voluminous fibers, and because you don't have the stem in there, they'll move a lot more freely, I find, too. Now I like a bit of a longer tail than most people as well. I go with about a tail shank and a half or so, maybe a little bit less. I'm not too worried about short hits. The fish seem to eat it just fine, but that longer tail will give me a lot more motion here. So I'm tying that in, you'll see just behind the lead wire here. And the reason for that is that the gap that I left that is behind the wire and my starting point is that I can tie in my Marabou, cut it short without adding a big bulky spot in the very back here. It sort of evens itself out. Now this tail's a little thin actually for this size of hook, so I'm just going to take a small second pinch of that same Marabou and add it on top there just to build up that tail a little bit more. Just lay that on top the same length. There we go. That's a little better. Cut that short as well. Yeah, that's looking good. From there we can tie in our wire rib, and for that we're just going to use, this is a small silver wire. You can use copper, gold, whatever you like. Doesn't show up too much in the final product. Just take a few inches of that and catch it in on the side here. Pull that in and tie it down tight. And then this is where things change a little bit from the standard bugger. We're going to be using, this is Hareline STS dubbing. This color is brown stone. Use whatever color you like for the color pattern you're tying. But the STS stuff has a really nice bugginess to it. It's quite a long fiber, pretty soft stuff, and it picks out really well. So you can sort of pick it out after you've tied the fly and really spike up that body nicely. I'm just going to start at the back here. I'm going to build maybe a very slight taper, if anything, along this shank, but the way the lead wire is tied in kind of does that for me as well. So even if it's fairly flat, that works just fine for me. bit more at the head there just to bulk that up slightly. There we go. That's the body of the fly. The hackle that we're going to use, I have, in this case, this is just a little olive saddle hackle here. And you can have saddle or neck hackle, works well with this fly. If you're using a larger hook, you can even go up to a small Sculpin feather. I'm just going to strip off some of the fluff of the base here and tie it in by that base of the stem there. You can fold that stem over on itself to really secure it in there. Make sure it doesn't pop out on you. You can go ahead and clip off the butt end here. And then we're ready to wrap this hackle. Make sure when you start wrapping that it starts wrapping with, you'll see the fibers tend to sort of slope back on one side. That is the side that should be facing the back of the hook, so it's sort of concave side back. I make a full wrap at the very head of the fly, and then I'm just going to go ahead and start gently spiraling it down toward the tail here. Just try to keep even wraps. I don't want to go too dense with this. If you go too dense with the hackle, your fly sinks really slowly and the fibers all kind of glob up and you don't get very much motion on it. So just enough to create some presence with that hackle without going overboard. Get my Marabou out of the way here, my wire free. There we go. And holding the hackle here, I'm just going to, with my other hand, grab my wire, and I'm going to make a turn so it crosses over that hackle and holds it in place. And then I'm going to spiral wraps of wire up through the body, careful not to trap too many fibers here. And I'm trying to space these wire wraps out about as far apart as my hackle wraps were. Similar kind of intervals there. Bring that up to the eye, cross the wire off with my thread, and now that wire has crossed that hackle a bunch of times throughout the body there, really securing it in place, locking it in. If you feel brave, you can break this off. If you don't, you can trim it. I feel brave today, so snap that hackle right off the back there. And then the wire, same thing as the lead wire previously. We'll just wind that to break it as well. Throw a quick whip finish on there. As always, you could do that by hand or with a tool. Seat it down, snip off your excess. I'll just, before going any further, take our bodkin and a little drop of head cement. Just place it right on those thread wraps at the front there. As I say, if you want to make this fly a little buggier, what you can do is you can take a little Velcro brush, a little dubbing pick, just come in here and really rough up that body a bit. Those will just get those fibers incorporated into the fly. It adds a nice sort of two-tone effect to the fly too, where you get, if you go with alternate colors for the underbody and the hackle, you get a couple colors happening in this fly. Makes it look really nice and natural. You can add flash to the tail if you want, all sorts of fun stuff. That is your dubbed body bugger.